Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to day 4. Wow, we're on day 4 already, part 2 of Instant Pot Week. In case you haven't been joining us, this is a special week that Kristen from A Mindful Mom and I are doing about teaching you how to use your Instant Pot, because we know how intimidating it can be and how they can just sit in your closet or in a cabinet, in a box, and you never use them. So we just wanted to go ahead and show you some simple ways to use them and really make it so that it's a part of your kitchen just like it is in ours. I'm gonna just take a second here to make sure I have everything set up so I can see comments and everything. So just bear with me. But today I'll be making a beef stroganoff. And it is a really delicious dish. Hold on, I just make sure I get this going right. It is paleo and dairy free. Here we go. Okay. It is paleo and dairy free, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you should stay away from it if you are not paleo, gluten free, dairy free, or any of those things, because it is so good. We have served this to plenty of people that are not paleo and they've loved it. So I just want to go ahead and show it to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and start because there's going to be some parts in here that are going to take it a little bit long and I can talk through them. But I'll just go ahead and start so you can see. One reason I picked this recipe is because it does use the saute function of this Instant Pot, and that is something that not everybody is familiar with. And it's similar to sauteing on your stove. It's just, it basically heats the Instant Pot up, doesn't put it under pressure or anything like that. You keep the lid off, and it's just like putting a pot on the stove or a pan on the stove and cooking. So all you need to do to start that is hit the saute button right here, and then just let it go. And it will just automatically start on saute. It will start heating. Make sure you don't put your hands in here at this point in time. You'll start feeling it gets kind of warm. And just like on the stove, you're gonna let it heat for like a minute or two to kind of get warm. And then we're gonna put in cooking oil. And I'm gonna use avocado oil. You can use ghee, butter, coconut oil, olive oil, or any other kind of things in this too, like your preferred cooking fat. And hello, Kathy, welcome. So yeah, I'm gonna use avocado oil, and the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons. I just kind of coat the bottom. That's how I do it. I don't really measure that cooking fat out ever. Put this over here, and then just gonna let that heat for a minute or two. Hey, Kristen. So in case you're just joining us, Kristen and I have been doing this together this week. She's my co-host for this week, and she is helping dispel the myth that Instant Pots are intimidating and things that are just scary, because I totally believed that for a long time. So once that's been heated, I'm going to put in 2 onions that have already been diced. I've done that already. And I'll explain a little bit more about this recipe in a second. I just want to get this in because it's going to take a couple minutes to cook. And then the recipe also calls for 16 ounces, I believe. Let me just check. Yeah, 16 ounces of mushrooms that are sliced. So I already bought 1 thing of sliced mushrooms, but when I was at the store, I wasn't paying attention and I just bought 8 ounces. So I'm going to put the 8 ounces in. And let's make sure it's working. Yeah. And then we actually use these canned mushrooms from Costco. They're the organic sliced mushrooms, and they work really well for this kind of recipe. I'll wait a little bit, let these kind of cook down first before I put these in. But if you're ever in a pinch, these are great ones to keep in your pantry or something in case you don't have access to mushrooms or you forget. And like the rest of the ingredients for this stroganoff aren't really fresh, so this is something that you can do from your pantry cooking if you have to, if you've forgotten to go to the grocery store that week. And then having these just makes it completely pantry free. So let me check the comments I have. Well, thanks, Kathy. I'm so glad you thought it's a great week. I've learned a lot so much, so I'm hoping everybody else has been learning stuff. And I hope everybody feels comfortable enough to chime in with any questions they have, because I know we've been going through a lot. And it's been kind of a lot of information, but I think really helpful. So I'm just mixing this up. I'm gonna let this cook for a couple minutes, just to let the onions turn translucent. This is the same as you would do on a stove. The same kind of thing. But it's nice because you don't have to dirty a pot on the stove. You just do it straight in your Instant Pot, which is awesome. All right, so a little bit more about this recipe while that cooks. So this is actually from this book. I got stuff all over it. It's Paleo Cooking from Your Instant Pot by Jennifer Robbins. And she's the blogger behind Predominantly Paleo. And I actually credit this book and one other book, which I will share later this week, for helping me actually get off of the paleo instant, or the instant pot, like, I don't know, sitting on the pot. I don't know how you say that, like being scared of it. Because I picked this up and I was like, all right, I'm gonna make a couple recipes. And the way that she writes the recipe, she actually tells you, press this button, press the minus button or the plus button or whatever. And it makes it a lot easier. So it's like step by step instead of me just trying to figure out what all these buttons mean. So I think it really helped me to just dive into it and make recipes instead of just kind of being too scared about it. So an Instapot specific book like this is really good, and these recipes have been really delicious. She gave me permission to share this stroganoff recipe because it is something that my family and I eat all the time, and we love it so much. And it's just something that we've shared with other people. Like, we've taken some of my kids' friends on picnics and we've given it to them. So we have one of those bigger kind of thermos things that you can put the lid on, and it keeps things warm for several hours. And we serve that with some white rice and bring it on a picnic, and everybody's loved it. It's been really fun. Sometimes we've brought it like fishing at night, just to have like a picnic dinner. And it's just like a one pot, easy thing to do. So I'm just letting this kind of saute a little bit. Just give that another minute or two. And then, let's see. I think I mentioned I have permission to share this recipe with you, but in case, if you haven't already signed up for our Instant Pot Week, you will get a copy of the recipe in the email that we sent out today. And so it won't print out green like this if you actually have ink in your printer. Note to self, fix that, right? So, let's see. All right, so these are kind of almost cooked, so I'm gonna put it in the canned mushrooms right now because they're already, like, you can kind of see they've already been kind of cooked down. So I'll just put them in. And this is all gonna kind of get uniform while you cook it in the Instant Pot, so I wouldn't really worry about if the consistency of your fresh mushrooms aren't the same as your canned or, you know, any of that. It's not that big of a deal. All right. So then the next step is to put in 2 pounds of ground beef. And so I actually already have mine thawed, but if you watched Kristen's segment this morning, she showed you how to make ground beef in the Instant Pot from frozen, which was really helpful. And if you didn't remember to take your ground beef out beforehand, you could follow her method and then take it out and then just do this and use the frozen or the now thawed ground beef. And all I'm gonna do is just kind of crumble it into the pot. It's still on saute. Oops. And again, this is just like doing it on your stovetop. It's just you're doing it in the pot of the Instant Pot, so you're not dirtying up other pans. So I'm going to crumble this in. And what she says is to make it, like, to kind of brown it, but it doesn't have to be completely browned. The cooking will happen while you have it under pressure. So you're just kind of browning it a little bit for flavor and to make sure you're safely getting it kind of uniformly cooked here. Watch my hand. All right, I'm back. So I'm just going to mix this up a little bit. And she says to cook it for about 5 minutes. So I'll just kind of mix this up. And then the next step, let me just make sure I have no comments. I don't think I have anybody. Nope, okay. The next step after this is to add in a bunch of seasoning agents. So I will show you what those are in 1 second once I've gotten this thoroughly broken up and mixed. I have to say the saute function has been like one of the reasons why I love this thing, because I have a slow cooker that I can take the pot out and put on the stove, but it's still like it's so much better to just do it right here. I can do it over here while, you know, something else is going on over there. Or, you know, it's just, I don't know. I love being able to just do it all in one pot. All right, so we'll let that sit for a minute. So the seasoning for this calls for, I got everything over here, 1 cup of beef stock. I don't use beef stock because I don't usually make beef stock. I don't typically like beef stock that much, so I always have chicken stock, because I showed you on Monday, I believe, how to make that in your Instant Pot. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you really, really, really are a stickler about it, use beef stock, but I just use chicken stock. It doesn't matter. So it's gonna be 1 cup of beef stock, and I'm just gonna put everything over here because I'll add that in a minute. Just stir this every so often. And then we got 1 teaspoon each of onion powder and garlic powder, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1 teaspoon of sea salt. It calls for 1 teaspoon of black pepper, but my kids kind of complain when I put too much black pepper in something. They don't like it. They're like, it's too spicy. So I usually cut down the amount, and I've put like about a half teaspoon in here. You can just adjust it to whatever taste you want. Alright, and that's almost there. And then calls for 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Now, if you are on paleo diet or have to be gluten-free because you're celiac like me, make sure your Worcestershire sauce is gluten-free. A lot of them, like even the Annie's organic, are not. So be very careful. I forget the, like this is like some Wizard brand, I forget. We got it in bulk. I have noticed that Lee & Perrins seems to be gluten-free these days, and it didn't used to be, so you can check that as well. 2 tablespoons of ketchup. I use Heinz organic. It does have sugar in it, but like paleo sugar-free ketchup is expensive, and I don't bother. Like, it's so little sugar. We use so little amounts that, again, I don't worry about things like that. But if you're on a really strict paleo diet, Steve's Paleo makes a good ketchup, and you can make your own pretty easily too. It's just tomato paste and a bunch of spices. There's plenty of recipes online that you can find that. And let's see. Anymore. You could use amino acids or like coconut aminos if you wanted to as well. They just don't have the exact same kind of flavor profile as Worcestershire sauce, but it really doesn't matter. Let's see, and then do I have everything for that? Yeah, okay. So let's see if you guys can see that. So the beef's kind of still a little pink, but it's not completely brown. It's fine. That's where I'm going to start putting the other ingredients in. So I got the beef stock, chicken stock, apple cider vinegar, sea salt, onion and garlic powder, Worcestershire sauce, pepper, and ketchup. And I do want to say too, if you want to make this ahead of time because you want to have this on like a busy weeknight, I often will take a lot of like the spices, like the onion powder, black pepper, salt, and all of those things, and I'll mix them up on like a Sunday, knowing that I'm going to have this later on in the week, and then I'll just put them in a plastic bag like this, and I'll label it, and I'll say this is for dinner Tuesday on the beef stroganoff. And then I'll put all like the wet ingredients, like the ketchup and the beef stock, and it was like the apple cider vinegar and stuff in something like this. Or if you want, you could cook up the beef and the onions and everything ahead of time, and then just reheat them, or just make everything ahead of time in the Instant Pot, and then just reheat it later on in the week. These are, you know, just kind of like chilies, where the flavor just develops over time, so it's a good one to do during the week because it's really quick. So once you get this all done, just mix it all up, and then find the lid. That's over here. So you remember yesterday I showed you this trick? You put the lid right there, then it's always there. But I don't have enough room in my kitchen right now with showing you this to do all that. And then you're gonna just turn off the saute function, press the warm cancel off button, and then remember the arrow goes to the arrow unlock, wherever it is. This is very hard to do backwards, don't do it backwards. Alright, I gotta turn this because I can't do it backwards. There we go. Putting the lid on an Instant Pot backwards. And then you turn it to seal. Make sure your vent back here is set to sealing. And then you are going to press, she has it on the meat and stew button. So you're gonna press the meat stew. And then she has you pressing the minus button to get it down to 15 minutes. So I'm gonna do that. Meat, and then, let's see, minus. Hopefully you guys can see this. So I've got it down to 15 minutes. And then I'm just gonna let it sit. It's gonna come to pressure, it's gonna cook for 15 minutes. And then when it's done that, I'm gonna quick release it. And hopefully you guys saw that yesterday where I used the oven mitts to do that. And you just quick release it, make sure you're not under a cabinet, it's not under your face or anything like that. Stand far back, quick release it. And then the stew's gonna be a little bit runny at this point. You're gonna wanna thicken it up. So she has you doing 2 tablespoons of arrowroot powder. This is a paleo alternative. You can do tapioca flour as well. Some people can do cassava flour if they'd rather. Or if cornstarch doesn't bother you, use cornstarch. And then a dairy-free milk. I just have almond milk in here. You can do coconut milk. You can do regular milk if it doesn't bother you. And then you're gonna just mix this and this in here, whisk it together to kind of make a slurry. And then you're gonna pour it into the stew, the stroganoff that's already in here, and just kind of mix it together. And it should thicken it up. And just make sure I'm not missing anything. You're gonna mix it until it's dissolved, and then yeah, and then she says to serve it right away over sweet potato noodles, or if you can tolerate white rice, that's great. I'm actually gonna have this for dinner tonight, and I'm gonna do it over the mashed cauliflower I made yesterday. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with it. Let's just see. Do I have any questions at the moment? I don't see any. Okay. So let's see. I think I explained all of that. So yeah, I'm just gonna let that sit, and that's that whole process. If you have been watching along, we're doing a giveaway of an Instant Pot. So to join that, you have to go to thrivingonpaleo/giveaway, and you have to enter the word of the day. You can enter every day as long as you know the word of the day. And the word of the day today is weeknight, and that's because Kristen showed us a really easy weeknight savior for making frozen ground beef. And I'm showing this, which is a great weeknight meal option. And again, it's paleo, Whole30. I mean, it's just, dairy-free, fits a whole bunch of different things, but it's delicious. And tomorrow, we are going to be doing yogurt. Kristen over at A Mindful Mom will be doing at 10 a.m. Eastern dairy yogurt out of cow's milk. And I will be doing coconut milk yogurt. I'll have just a regular meat, it's not a meat option, but it will be using beef gelatin, or I'll also have a vegan option as well. So if you're vegan, this is one of the ones that you should watch. And I think that is it. Again, if you haven't signed up for the week, you can go ahead and sign up. I have the link somewhere. And it's not too late to sign up for that because we will be doing a recap, so you'll be able to get everything. And I do have everything in one YouTube playlist, so if you want that, just make a comment in this email or something. I can send a link out for that as well. So, and that's everything, and I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you.